Hi, guys. My name is Rochelle. I'm doing a video on INVPs, INFPs, should I say. I'm an INFP, personally myself. I'm from London, UK. I'm kind of just doing this video really based on I'm gonna start vlogging. I'm new to this, by the way, on just how an INFP basically is character wise. I feel like being an INFP, we're quite confused because I feel like at the same time, a lot of people tend to say about INFPs that we're very reserved all the time. And I feel like I need another perspective of it because I don't know if anyone else can relate to me personally on what I'm saying, but as an INFP, I feel like me personally, I have two sides to me. Now, I know that we can be very, how can I say it? I feel like at times we can be very nonchalant. And I feel like people always say INFPs are quiet. It tends to be the whole overall on the internet, what is spoken about of us is like we're very, like, all the time, like it's so much like living in this imaginary world. Sometimes I feel like we live in this imaginary world, but I feel like we live in this imaginary world with kind of fuck it as well. I don't know if anyone else is picking up the same kind of vibe as me, but I feel like we're quite like we live in this imaginary world, but we're very quick to say fuck it too. So for instance, I can sit there and say, all right, I live in this imaginary world, and I can go in my head with all my big ideas and sit there and say, you know what, this is how life is, etc., and say like, oh, this is how I really want things to be. Or I can live in my imaginary state for very long periods of time and sit there and say, oh, I'm really going to be like this, and I'm going to be like that, and this is like this, and this is like that, whatnot, whatnot. But I also feel like at times I can also say fuck it, I don't give a fuck about the imaginary state, this is reality, this is how it is. I'm also very quite nonchalant and very straight to the point. I think INFPs can also be quite, I think we can be quite direct at times as well. We're quite real. I think we're the realest out of the whole of the personality traits, yeah. And I feel like out of the Myers-Briggs, we are really in the concept of like being straightforward and quite outspoken. We're that. I feel like a lot of the time INFPs are described quite a lot as, oh, just living in this imaginary state all the time. I don't feel like we live in this imaginary state all the time. I feel like we live in it and we're very able to say fuck it, but it's not happening. I feel like we live in it to a certain degree of comfort. I think we understand that it's not reality. I feel like, I don't know if anyone else can relate. We can live in it for a sort of comfort. I can live in that imaginary of how I want my life to be, per se, for comfort. But I feel like I'm very understanding of the fact that that's not how things are. So I'm also like, fuck it, that's not how it is, sort of thing. I'm very straight to the point in a sense of reality terms. I'm not gonna sit there and say to someone, oh, like, this is what I think you should do. You know, I think it would be a great idea. I'm someone to more say to you, no, it's not really realistic. And I think that it's quite, you're imagining things here, you know. I also feel like we are, I don't know if we're loners. Because sometimes people say we can tend to be like INFJs, and I feel like we have tendency to be like INFJs, but I feel like we want to be a part of something. I feel like we want to be a part of something, but sometimes we exclude ourselves of being a part of something because we find it overwhelming. I don't know if anyone can relate to that as well. I find it like there's times that I do want to be a part of the group and the community, but I can't deal with the group and community because I feel different from the group and community, but I want to be a part of it. So for instance, I want to be a part of the situation, but I don't feel like I fit into the situation. So I feel like we're very conflicting. I feel like with INFJs, they tend to not want to be a part of the situation at all. They're very comfortable with just being on the outside, where I feel like with INFPs, we always want to be on the inside, but a part of us is compelled to come back because we don't fit. So I feel like we balance between the two of wanting to be and wanting to be in our own space. I don't know if anyone else can relate, but I felt like I was going to do a vlog basically and have a new perspective on it, because I feel like INFPs are always described in the same way, constantly, repetitively. We live in an imaginary state, and I just feel like the imaginary state is partly an escapism, but it's not our reality. I think we're very in touch with what's reality and what's not. I think we like the imaginary state, but we're able to come out of it and go into reality. I don't feel like we're in it completely, because I feel like we can be quite cutthroat, for instance. Like, I mean, I don't know if anyone else thinks like this, but I tend to tell people like how I feel very quickly. Like, I'm not gonna like beat around the bushes. I'm quite vocal. So if I'm not happy with something, I can be quite you know, I'm not happy with that, or I don't think that's really how things should go, or I don't really think that, you know, I can be quite speak my mind on things, where I feel like with the INFJs, where they compare us to, I don't feel like they speak their mind on things. I find them to be quite passive. Whereas an INFP, I find us not to be as passive. And the imaginary state thing, I feel like, again, it's a bit of escapism, but not reality. I feel like people like to say a lot of the time that we're just based on imaginary, as in that's all there is to us. And I feel like I just thought I'll come with a better context of there's more to us than just living in this state. I don't know if anyone else wants me to explore more on the subject or whatnot. I'm new to this, but yeah, it's just kind of my intake on things, really quite, like, I kind of wanted to go with this, really. Yeah, I'm also a Gemini, so I don't know. That has a lot to do with it. I don't know what star sign everyone is, but I'm a Gemini. So Gems do tend to be quite between. I don't know, because I think star sign has a lot to do with this as well. I'm into. I don't know who's into tarot. I'm into tarot, star sign, that kind of thing. So I feel like that has a lot to do with me personally, anyway. That I tend to like to be in the mix of both. So I'm not sure if I'm getting the star sign kind of confused with the personality type, but I do feel like for a real true INFP, I feel like we do have the imaginary side is escapism more than our reality, you know, because I feel like it's very confused. But then, as being a Gemini as well, we do tend to flicker between both. We want to be part of that, but we don't feel like a part of that, so we step back. It's the twins, it's sort of the conflicting twins. So if anyone else is an IFP and a Gemini, I do understand your struggle, because I go through it too. But yeah, so I feel like that's got quite a lot to do with it. But yeah, I'm new to this anyway, and so it's just my first time. So I'm quite, you know, I'm not very professional, and I kind of got confused with the whole INFP, INFJ at the beginning, got a bit tongue twisted, so do bear with me. But I just wanted to know if anyone else kind of got that same kind of thing as me with the INFP kind of thing, like I've always hearing videos about being in your head, whereas I do feel like we can become quite out there as well, in a sense of we are quite, I feel like we have an extroverted side. I feel like we are quite extroverted too, as well as introverted. I feel like we possess both sides, but I feel like when we go into extrovert, sometimes we can tire away, because I feel like people can drain us. So I feel like that's when we come back to introvert. But I do feel like we do have that desire for the extrovert. I feel like that desire, like for instance, I enjoy stage, like productions. I used to do theatre back in the day. I used to do a bit of acting, and I don't know if anyone else is an IFP,